Hi guys! Here's the interview with Gigi. A beautiful found so far. I found Gigi through one post after the interview we did with Uri, and I was a bit skeptic because at the time I was not sure I want to go through any spiritual teachers and to find any more something that is anyhow connected with spirituality. But nothing is is a coincidence. And I found Gigi, and I found her nice in a way she shares her wisdom and thoughts. I found her very interesting. This is as per my point of the view. That's something that we would like to share with you now through our interview. That watching it back, it's not perfect. You will find English imperfection. Environment is not perfect, but why we need to be perfect?
We Gigi was so kind to give us an interview, and we did our best, and we really do hope that you will like it, you will enjoy it, and you will find it valuable. What we focused on what we found most important in these days as well is how to tune into our hearts. So this is the main topic of the interview, and we really do hope you will enjoy it. Enjoy it. Hi guys, today we've got the pleasure and opportunity to interview Gigi Young, and she's an intuitive advisor. She writes, she do YouTube videos, and me and Lucia found very interesting her videos, and they were very helpful and insightful. So this is the reason why we wanted to introduce you, Gigi. And yeah, so thank you very much for to accept our invitation for an interview.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Yes. So Gigi, first I would like to ask you something about your childhood, and when did you realize or find out that you have some kind of abilities, or you see the world different, or you can perceive different things?
Yeah, my childhood, I feel like I always knew that things were different, but I think that I internalized that and felt like I was different. So it was not something that I thought I was special or anything. I felt like I was really weird. And I didn't have really obvious gifts that people associate with psychic abilities, like clairvoyance or mediumship. I was a claircognizant and an empath. So these are the most subtle gifts. And so I really didn't think that there was anything awesome or anything intuitive about me until years later, and maybe 10 years ago. So my childhood, I just felt like a huge loser and a huge weirdo. And I was interested in spirituality, and I was interested in this stuff, but in no way did I think that I had any capacity, no. And that's why I teach intuition development, is because so many people are really, really psychic, but they just don't know it. So.
Yes. So and what was the okay? So can you describe like how what was, for example, like your, I don't want to say client, but how did you get the advice to people? And how did you learn things about yourself and how to use the thing?
Yeah, I just started out meditating a lot. And basically, I just started hearing and connecting with my guides. And then from there, they got me to write. Basically, I was translating it through writing. And then I started making YouTube videos because I felt like no one's talking about this stuff. I have to. And mainly about like cosmic things, the super kind of fringy things. And then eventually people started writing me and asking me, like, can I work with you? And I felt like I am a writer, or I don't know how I'd work with you. And then I just started eventually saying yes and saying, I'll just see what comes forward. And then it just developed into a consulting practice. I'm not sure if that's what you asked, but that was my progression into consulting anyway.
Yes, yes. This was part of the question, and because as you said, like some people, they just don't know that they have some kind of better, I don't want to say connection, but so how did you teach them or learn to discern like this is your intuition and this is something else, or how to tune into their intuition?
A few really important things. The first thing is that the mind is a real problem when it comes to intuition and your soul and your spirit. And your mind will actually do something really funny, which is if you're investing all of your focus and your attention in your mind, which would feel like thoughts, which would feel like analysis, which would feel like trying to control things. If that's where you are, that's where you're living from, because there's many different places in our system we can live from, such as the heart, even our lower chakras, things like that. But if we're investing all of our energy in mind, we are effectively blocking our intuition. Our intuition cannot get through. It is of a different frequency than mind. The most accurate place, in my opinion, where we can get our intuition from, that is the most centered, is from your heart. So your heart chakra, which is actually the center of your being and is a profound level of intelligence, is a profound level of energy and intelligence there. That's actually where we get our intuition and our guidance is the most balanced. That's why it's the center of our being. And so the number one thing anyone can do, and you don't need to pay anybody or see anybody or anything, is to just start really tuning into your heart and letting that mind fall back to 20%. You don't have to turn it off. You can't shut off your thoughts. You can't shut off your emotions. We're meant to go through those things, but just to observe them and to not engage in them, to focus on your breath or mantra. That will do the most you possibly can to connect with your intuition, because you're changing your frequency from mind into heart. And once you're there, you can't not hear your guides. You'll start getting random intuitions like go for a walk today or change your diet or whatever, but also profound ones where it's like, you know, this is the laws of the universe. This is how the law of attraction works. This is how the law of rhythm works, or whatever's going on. So in a nutshell, that's the most, like, I guess, biggest tip I would say to anybody looking to develop that.
That's perfect answer. As because when you said like how to find your intuition or tune to your guides, when you mentioned that how you started, I'm still struggling with receiving or hearing or feeling some kind of information from my guides, let's say. Like Lucia is like, she's super in touch with them. She really like can talk to them, write to them, whatever, or they can like through her. But I just find this fascinating, like the differences that people have it like very in various ways.
Yeah, sometimes women, Lucy is you are very, very sensitive. You are very, very intuitive. That's absolutely true. Because a lot of the times it can come through the emotional body, right? And sometimes women actually have less shame around the emotional body and a less shame around the heart and connecting with the heart. There's a lot more shame around men growing up and connecting with their hearts. And that's sometimes why men will experience much more blocks when developing their intuition as well. The other thing I would say is trust what you get. Once you set the intention that you're going to try to get an intuitive hit from your guides, assume that every little bit of flash of intuition that you get is a message. I guarantee that you're getting messages, but it's the second guessing of the message because it's not what you thought it was going to be, or it's not understood. You're definitely getting it. It's just trusting the information, writing it down, and allowing that to grow. Because we second guess things away before we're able to really. It's like we're second guessing away the tip of the iceberg, basically.
Yes, I think like Lucia could give a short example about like a general when her intuition is telling her something and she doesn't do that. So, yeah, so
that's the worst thing you can do.
Yes, I am literally kicked.
Yes, the more that you follow through with your intuitions, the louder it gets and the stronger it gets. So it's like the more that you invest in it, the more that it will compound on itself, and the more accurate it will become, and the more you'll kind of see into that world, and the more detailed it will become. So you have to, no matter how silly it is or how it seems like it doesn't matter, or even no matter how hard, like leaving a relationship, or like you're bravely leaving a work situation that doesn't serve you, you have to go ahead and do that, because of not only will you change positively in your life, but you'll get much more accurate psychic abilities, because you've almost grounded that intuition by giving it physicality and following through. If that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
Like a sounding board, it makes it stronger. So, but I think you'll notice that you become much more stronger and powerful now that you've made that change. You'll notice that you're intuitive, that it's like now when you get an intuitive hit, you're like, I know that it's right because I've had this confirmation.
Good to hear, especially today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gigi, I know that you love to talk about, or the subjects are, let's say, extraterrestrials, different, and I love your videos on that. But I would like to ask you now a bit different topic. How do you let's say, what do you do when when there is not when they're in a relationship, there comes up a situation, or let's say an argument. So how do you deal with this? Or is there any technique or you use, or like how does it work for you on, or in your relationship, whatever, if it with your husband or friends or boss or whoever?
Yeah. So when there's a conflict or something, usually I check first to see if I'm tired, to see if I'm hungry,
Okay.
to see if I'm hormonal, and I try to see if it's any of those like surface things, like do I need to eat? Do I need to have a nap? Am I hormonal? That's like the first thing that I'll go through, because if I am any of those things, I know that I'm probably in the wrong. So like, I'll check to see like what's happening in there, and if I'm none of those things, and I can feel my presence, and I can feel my truth, and I can feel my center, then that's when I try to become really grounded, and I try to figure out what the kernel is what do I really want from this, and I try as best as I can to convey my point of view with that kernel, like what I truly want, forgetting any insults that are thrown, and trying to move through that, just really figuring out what is the kernel, and how can we come together. That's what I try to do. That's my aim. Sometimes it works, and I'm able to not get in, altercations, and then sometimes it's not so good, and then like I'll fight with my husband, or we'll have something. But at the end of the day, like we're pretty good together, and we don't usually get too bad, luckily.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is like my next question is very well, not as similar to this one, but it like continues. Like how do you find out when someone is projecting something on you? Like it's not you, but their projection, and you have to deal with it, or how do you find out?
You have to know where you stand with the issue they're talking about. So you have to know where you stand on that exact issue inside of you. So basically, if someone is, the thing is if someone's projecting on you, you usually have a few different reactions. The first thing is that you're like, wow, you're projecting, this has nothing to do with me. Sometimes it is so obvious when people are projecting, because deep down that this just is not one of your issues. Like, we are capable as human beings of knowing ourselves, the colors that we are, who we are, enough to know when something isn't us. So sometimes if we have the same issue as someone, it can be difficult to know when they're projecting we have the same issue or we've been affected by that issue. If we have a sensitivity for whatever reason to that, it can be difficult to know. So the more that you know yourself, and boundaries are really important here. So the more that you have boundaries with others, and that has to do a lot with self-worth and self-love, but the more that you know who you are and what you stand for and what you believe in and what is true for you, the less people can project on you, or the less you will experience things as projections.
And yeah, so there's I just had a look at some questions from our audience, and this is so the question is like, how do you handle a self-sabotaging partner, or somebody who is scared of happiness?
Oh, those are the worst. You know, when you see somebody's light and you can see it and you know they can do it, and sometimes you even know the path that they can take to do it, and then to have them sabotage it, honestly, I think sometimes it's more difficult than your own stuff, because with your own issues, at least you can take initiative and you can do it. But when someone that you love and care about is self-sabotaging, it's so painful, because there's nothing that you can do. And that's my answer, is that there's nothing that you can do to make somebody realize their light. The best, like, there's nothing you can do to that person or whatever. The best thing that you can ever do to affect anybody is to live your purpose so strongly and so fearlessly that via osmosis, like one log catching another log on fire, they learn. And they can see, maybe, you know what, I know how difficult that struggle was for you to speak in front of people, or to share your truth, or to whatever it is, go skydiving, or whatever it is. The more that they see you working through these hurdles, the more they realize, maybe I can do that. So the best thing that you can possibly do is to provide them love and support, but boundaries when necessary, if there's some kind of vampiric energy going on. But just absolutely do what you do with great purpose, and just give them support. And that's what I would say is the most powerful thing you can do.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And another question is, when do you withdraw support, even though you know they are acting from heart space, like a hurt space, and you know they need love and support in order to heal? At the same time, their behavior hurts you. Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, really difficult issue here. I think the support that you give has to change. If you're giving somebody support and they're not listening to it, like you're giving them advice, like you need to change your thinking here, and you may be able to again see that this person can make change. It's not that you withdraw your support, it's that you change the type of support you're giving. So it's just like with a child or with anything, if the type of support that you're offering isn't working, you change the support that you're giving. And sometimes that support is on a spiritual level, and it may feel like no support at all, but that hard edge that someone's feeling when you take your support away is actually the hard edge that's needed to bring a self-awakening, which is the only generated energy that will propel them forward, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't say that it would be necessarily ever taking your support away, but sometimes the most supportive thing to do is to just step back and send love on the spiritual plane, be there, but to make those strong boundaries. Because if you're asking this question, I'll assume that you're becoming drained and frustrated. That's why maybe the question is coming forward, is and that's your indicator that it's time to maybe change the kind of support you're giving. Because if you're drained, you're frustrated, what's going to happen is you're going to start resenting that person. And a lot of negative emotions are going to build up, and that could destroy the relationship. So the best thing to do would be to know when you're getting drained, in my opinion, pull away and offer a different kind of support that's from more of a distance.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so do you have any, let's say, tips how to or steps how to build, let's say, self-trust, self-confidence, and self-love?
Yeah. I would say there's so many different things to do for that. I would say to start a meditation practice and genuinely begin listening to yourself, to your heart and your intuition. The best way to learn to love yourself is to every day tune in and see what you need. And what that can look like is to wake up in the morning and feel into yourself, because we're training ourselves to live more from our heart, from our emotional center, and say, what would you have me do today? And it's probably going to give you a list of things that you need to do for work or, mundane things. But it will also give you some direct things that are going to bring you into more of a harmonic. And anything that brings you more into your harmonic, more into coherency is loving. So if you can tune in every single morning and say, what do I really need today? Do I need to cancel plans with my friends and go to a restorative yoga class because I am overwhelmed? Then you do that. You release any obligations that are draining from you. That's one of the things that actually is the most difficult, is we have too many obligations to others and to the world, and we're not honoring ourselves enough. So really tune in to make sure that you are doing things every single day that are in support of you. And the more that you do that, the more that you do love yourself, the more capacity you have to be out in the world and to serve others. So that's probably what I would say.
Yeah, when you were saying about the tuning into heart and coherence, just like a half hour ago, I was reading a book from Greg Braden, Resilience from the Heart, and he said, I was just reading about the three steps, about the 3 steps that you have to do when tuning into your heart. And he said, because then there's the coherence between brain and heart. And it was when you are facing, he was writing it because when you are facing a tough question that you don't know the answer to, and so how can you ask the heart? And he said, basically that shift your focus into the heart, deep, breathly, relax, and then just ask the as simple direct question that you want to have the answer for, and be open to whatever comes up. It's exactly like what you said, and I found this process great.
Absolutely beautiful, and it sounds so simple.
Yeah.
Just tune in, but it is a little. It can be challenging, but I agree with that. I love Greg Braden. I know that I think Paul Purcell also wrote The Power of the Heart, and he goes into detail scientifically just how Greg Braden does about the power of the heart as well.
Yes, it was interesting because, for example, for some people as me, I have to also know like how it basically functions on a, let's say, a scientific way. So when I understand it, it's more, the information is more grounded in me. So yeah, he said, like when you are measuring the EEG of brain and heart, that they are not they are different, they are not synced. But when you tune into and calm down and relax, like they really are synced. It's showing it, and then you are like in coherence, like you are regenerating and everything. So that's the best state like we can be basically in.
Yeah, and you know what? And as you were saying that, I got this like image of when they go in coherence and they're at the same frequency. I feel like more parts of the brain are unlocked. Like I feel like we have more access. Do you know what I mean? Like as you were saying that, That's what I felt like. You get actually more access to your own brain and the own abilities and capacities within that when your heart is there, because I feel like your heart and brain work tandem and they pick up the slack for each other. They're almost like soulmates. And our brains are, you know, we use them for too much, and I think it's since our heart clicks, and I think we can actually do more. Like we can actually do more with our own brains and our own selves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so when we are talking about this topic, we were watching with Lucia like your manifestation series, and it was really great. And so can we get back to that a bit? If you could just, well, I don't want to say in short because we do have enough time, but if you could just basically sum up these most important things according to you while manifesting
About
whatever.
manifestation?
Sorry?
About manifestation in general?
Yes, about what are the steps, what's your view on that, and yes.
Yeah. I can't remember what each video is. They're very spontaneous, but manifestation series is basically empowering people to realize how much they are creating their reality around them, and different tips and tricks to get them to do so. A lot of the videos so far focus on the emotional body and how our emotional body actually gives us direct feedback into what we're manifesting. And so I think my next video, which I can talk about, is going into how the emotions can actually block or accelerate our manifestations. So anything in the love spectrum will actually accelerate your manifestation process. It will bring things faster to you, and synchronicities will speed up. And anything that's not in the love spectrum, that's kind of falling into fear and the lower spectrum, will actually has a molasses effect. It will actually delay things coming to you. And it will slow things down, or it will just take, the timeline will stretch to double, or it will just be different. So that's pretty much the series, is kind of really getting into the different intricacies of manifestation. My favorite video that I did in that series was actually Take Risks, because one thing that I've realized with my clients is that they're so powerful. They're getting all the messages from their intuition, and they're great manifestors, but they're not taking the risk. They're not listening, they're not taking all that energy and actually going forward and doing something. And anytime you want to manifest something great, there's always a risk. And so that's probably my favorite video, is to get people out of their comfort zones.
Yes, I found this very interesting in especially in the business world. I mean, not in especially, but as I'm studying books, reading books about like different successful people, running a business myself as well. Like I used to, or I'm still posting like focus positively and everything will flow in, and like you don't need to do anything and the universe will provide you. But at the same time, I know that when you do the most like difficult decision, and when you stretch yourself, and when you go out of your comfort zone, a lot of times you get the biggest rewards.
And you get new energy in. You get new energy. Things stop repeating in your life too. That's when you get that larger amount of abundance, or that new idea that really propels you into deeper levels of yourself, but also further in the world. Taking risks also opens you up to new energy, which is really important as well.
Yeah.
But business know that too. But you're right. Business people know that about risks. And the thing about risk too, that's funny, is that the more connected to your heart, like Greg Braden talks about, is that the less things feel like risks. They actually just feel like the next step. It's the fact that we are so far from our own souls and our own heart. And how sad is that? That it actually feels like a risk to follow our soul's footsteps.
Yeah, so exactly. So this brings me to the next question, because there are cases like it's the group like positive thinking, let's say, versus like shadow work or last past life regressions, etc. So how do you know? How do people know when I can change some situation by just positively thinking, and when do I have to actually do some kind of process?
You know what? I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of processes. And the reason being is because I think that there are very few that, I think there's a huge risk, that, and this is my thing, is we are coming from a time where we're addicted to mind energy. And the mind wants to control. The mind wants to understand. And the mind confuses control and understanding with peace and with a feeling of being connected to your soul. And that's very easy for us to get caught up in nowadays. And so what will happen is we'll spiritualize the ego and we'll start doing all these processes. And what we're not really, what we're looking for is a sense of understanding and peace, and we're confusing that with spiritual connection. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be very careful that we're not doing this maze work in our mind and within ourselves that is basically just a maze of the mind. There's no connection with heart, there's no connection with spirit. We're using spiritual terminology, and we may be using our ability to vision, but at the end of the day, it's all mind. And we have to be really careful of that. Basically, if you are surrendering in your heart and you're saying, okay, I'm really struggling with my relationship with this, my parents, my partner, or my relationship with myself. If you go into your heart and you just ask, like Greg Braden said, that direct question, then you will get a direct answer. And if you need to become aware of something in your childhood, you will become aware of that in that moment. You will see, wow, holy cow, I have been feeling so suppressed emotionally because I was not allowed to speak my mind as a child. Wow. And in that moment, just realizing that, that'll be the first step of your healing process. And we have to know that in that moment that's enough, and then bring gratitude to that. You will know moment to moment exactly what you need. That's how connected we are. And so that would be my suggestion. Always have that energy. If you can always keep your heart energy turned up, and you can always keep that the loudest that you're focusing on, you will know what you need to know when you need to know it. And we need to be able to sink into that trust. That's my personal take on that, if that makes sense. It's very simple. I know people, we want to make things complicated. We want to make things, we want to have that control, or we want to know it's all about, but I feel like that can be very much a trap, and I feel like we have to be very careful.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfectly how you like your approach makes for me like perfect sense. That, and it's I would say for me is the best from both worlds. I mean, it's like, yes, the simple things are like most effective ones, but I can imagine that people are so out of alignment that they basically won't get this answer. But yeah, I mean,
it's that mind addiction. It's that mind addiction.
Yeah, but yeah, I think this is what you just said. Like, expanded my view on all of this pretty much. Yeah.
I'm so glad. It's your innate process. I feel like if no one told us anything or we didn't hear anything, I feel like that's what we would naturally do. I feel, and that's actually where I feel like we are all naturally drawn to. Like once you have tried everything and you have fought everything and you are done, where do we go? We go right here. We
Yes,
listen.
exactly. What at different questions and situations and teachings and processes, I'm always asking myself, but how can people do that without it? How can do they, like, if this wouldn't exist, if there wouldn't be some kind of practitioner or whatever, like people, I think, in my opinion, like they should be able to heal themselves or go to fix themselves or to go whatever they need to go by themselves. So because, for example, like past life regressions, I mean, somebody has to do with it, like with you, and then I'm asking the question, like, okay, but if that somebody wouldn't exist, like how would I deal with it? Like there would be no other way and I would be stuck, or what to do?
Oh, no, you can, no, absolutely not. I think that these are fun exercises that we can do. Like if you want to do processes, I mean, enjoy that. That might be something that is fun. That might be something that you enjoy doing. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But as for the most effective and natural, no, not in my opinion. Past life regression, you can definitely do yourself by the exact process that Greg Braden talked about, which is where you just get centered and you just ask. The more familiar you are with meditation, the easier it gets. So the more that you invest in having a meditative practice in the morning and at night, the more conductive you are. But what I do feel like that these practitioners, there's an importance for them because they are sort of specialized to help us. And having like one past life regression to familiarize yourself to the energy, or going and downloading a regression to sort of introduce yourself to the steps in symbology that take you there. So for example, the relaxation process and then the symbolic thing that crosses you over time, and kind of getting to know the rhythm of that can be valuable and speed up your process. But to become dependent on that for your ability to do it, well, that's not necessary. We should always approach these things with the intent on how can I do this myself?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you just love it and you're like, cool, then that's awesome too. But you just know that you can do these things yourself. You absolutely can.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yes, I've got here a question very, very similar to what we were just talking about, and it's basically to what degree our ancestral biology affects our life and how to approach this.
Yeah, absolutely, great question. So we choose to incarnate into the physical forms that we do because of our ancestral DNA. Because our ancestral DNA mirrors to us something karmically that we're working on. So these are probably going to be the really primal issues that come forward that are really deep, that sometimes it's hard to even get zoomed out enough perspective to understand those kind of things. The best way to deal with those things would be to know that you can shift your focus and kind of almost rise above that, knowing that ancestral DNA can represent our deepest karma. To kind of begin to associate, okay, my ancestral stuff is probably one of the deeper rhythms of my karma, and to become aware of it, to be conscious of it, and then to choose better. The secret to all karma is forgiveness. That is not a Gigi Young realization. That is an ancient realization that has been through time, is forgiveness. So be aware of the issue and try to bring yourself so much forgiveness and so much leniency. And if you see your ancestral karma out in the world as we are seeing today, in all the division that's happening and all the nasty stuff that's happening, bring forgiveness to them too. Mm-hmm. bring forgiveness to anybody that you see that is carrying the same ancestral patterns as you, because ancestral stuff is some of our deepest stuff planetary wise, and the more that we can forgive in that area, the more that will be cleared internally and externally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How would you define when we are talking about karma? Like what's your point of view on karma? Like how do you because there are people that don't believe in it, and there are people that use it or do believe in it.
Yeah, that's cool. Either one, whatever serves you. But my point is that it absolutely does exist. But I understand why people are like, I don't want anything to do with karma, is because our idea of karma has become so distorted that it doesn't really make sense in some circles. Karma is just your life story. Your karma, in my opinion, is literally your life story. We can't live without creating certain magnetism, certain polarity experiences. And that's part of our purpose here. Our purpose was to make a big mess and then to clean it up. That's essentially what our souls came here to do, to be the perpetrator, but then also the victim. And we have on larger scales and smaller scales within our life, all these waves of those shifting dynamics. And our karma is our drive to balance them. And where we get mixed up with karma is trying to get really specific about it. And at the end of the day, we don't always understand the karmic patterns and the karma that's going on until the book is closed. Until we don't know, until we're done, then we can know. However, the more conscious we become, the more aware we actually become of our karma. I just read a David Wilcock book. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him.
Yeah, of course. I am.
And someone said, you have to read this, and so I read it. And he gives a great example of karma and talks about it quite poignantly. He says that the more conscious that he became, he realized that he was like, if he would think a negative thought about somebody, that he would like stub his toe, or if he was being mean to himself, or if he was doing something negative, he would like spill spaghetti on his shirt. So the universe is always giving us feedback as to how we're thinking and how we're feeling. It's always letting us know, and it's always giving us that mirror. So that's sort of how I would explain karma on a small scale, but also on the large scale when we don't even understand. Hope that makes sense. But
yeah,
it's not vindictive.
It just when you mention, did you say spaghetti? With the spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti, yes, spaghetti. This reminded me of Lucia. I don't know, like 2 days ago, or when was it? That she had a white T-shirt and was doing something with spaghetti, and then it turned out red. And she said, "Yeah, this is because I was angry today."
Yes. Yeah. That's so funny that I use that example. See, it's so weird, and it's not. The universe is not being mean to you. It's letting you know, hey, don't be mad, because this is what's going to come your way. It's not going to serve you. The happier you are, you're going to get like double spaghetti or something. You're going to get like free spaghetti, you know? So it's trying to show you, karma is trying to show you your relationship with yourself and your relationship with the world. It is not vindictive. Humans are vindictive. We are vindictive. We are these things. Karma is not. Karma is just physics. And I had the same thing as you, Lucy. I was really rushing the other day, and I was like short with my husband, and I was like, I have to go to yoga, and I was like being really snippy, and I was like, I have to go, and I went to like I ride my bike to yoga, and I kicked the kickstand up on my bike, and my toenail split. And so it was the exact same thing, basically.
No, but it made me realize that the moment that I found that the right shirt is just full of red drops, I said, see, That's why today you were collecting since the morning all the proofs that today is bad, you look bad, this is bad, you know, and but for nothing. And that made me realize that I'm just somehow exaggerating. I said, okay, Lucy, now you slow down, just appreciate what you have, look around, beautiful kids, you're a lovable man. And then it starts to be better.
Exactly. And then we can see how, if you didn't understand the connection to your spaghetti on your shirt or me stubbing my toe and breaking my nail, maybe we can see how this energy can compound and turn into a car accident, or turn into something else, or turn into basically a cosmic 2x4 hitting you in the head. Now we can see how all these little things could possibly begin accumulating in our blind spots to wake us up or to bring us awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean, I had, sometimes I do find out when something like this is happening or why did it happen, but sometimes because of let's say the time buffer, it's not that often that I can match my previous emotional state with what happened. So,
Yeah.
and then I just don't know, but I'll do better.
You should do the Greg Braden and try and connect into the heart and say, why did this happen to me? What is the root? What is the root behavior that mirrored this to me? And see what it'll show you. And it might actually show you a pattern of like different things in your life that is leading up, instead of just one thing, but like a series too.
Yeah. What I would be interested, because I'm into like some more specific things on some topics that are like that I can't grasp, or that are like too away from what I can achieve. So that's why I'm so deeply interested in it. Like, how does it look like when you communicate with your guides, and did you saw them, or are they changing, or how? Yeah, if you could describe this more detail.
Yeah, so when I first connected, I actually saw letters in front of my mind. So it was kind of clairvoyantly. The first interface with my guides was actually, the first thing I noticed was actually a very different energy that was not mine in the room. And it felt like kind of like velvet or flowers, or really kind of soft and loving. That was actually my first impression. The more that I tuned into that energy and began interacting with it and playing with it, playing with things accelerates. It's one of the most accelerating energy you can do in your life is play. So I started to just play, and the more that I invested my focus in that, the clearer things became. So it was definitely associated with belief. So the more that I acknowledged that this thing was here, that my guides were around me, I got like an inch forward to being able to see them. And then I would see like perhaps a color, like a rose color energy, or like a gold color energy. And then I played a little bit more, got more curious, asked more questions, interacted more, and then I started to see like a shape, or and then eventually, once I started to really let go, I started actually seeing what they looked like, and or they would just pop in front of my mind, and I got more and more clairvoyant as I believed, and also as I invested in interacting with the energy. Beyond that, and this is probably across the board for everybody, our dreams. Everyone's like, I want to become more clairvoyant. Well, you are for 8 hours a night when you're dreaming. So our dreams are actually our clairvoyance turned on high. And so if you want to see your guides, you can always ask for them to appear in dreams, and then also to remember the dream. And from there, that gives you a reference point where you can try to re-image it. And when you re-image it and you re-image it, eventually the image will start to communicate with you, and it will animate. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes, maybe. I've never done this before. Well, not never, but that I'll ask Lucia maybe about her first time, like engaging with oh, with guides.
Myself,
Yes,
with
yes.
my guides.
Yes, like what was your like first time on, and how do you like communicate with them?
It was through my orgasm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
And
The
That's
strongest
cool.
connection is always there and the longest. Yes. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yes.
That
but
makes sense to me.
was okay, and was this like from the very beginning, or?
Oh, my first, no, my very beginning was when I was a little girl. I was about 7 years old, and I was playing on a garden where I lived, and I was playing with the sand. I don't know if US is saying that the kids are playing with the sand, that they are building castles, etc.
Oh, yeah.
And I had repeatedly a visit of, I would call it like Egyptian prince or Egyptian king. Or I was very like scared because he was so tall that for me was like a rock person, very very tall. And
Yeah.
I was running home, and I was sharing it with my mom, but she just looked outside the window. She said, "No, Lucy, you don't worry, nobody's there." But this guide, or this visitor, how to call this man, was coming repeatedly, and I felt very like relaxed, and I just understood that he's there like for me. But how I was growing, I was about 9 years. I saw him for the last time.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. So that I would assume that because he was coming forward as Egyptian, you probably like knew him in a past life, or you have some kind of parallel life connection there, past life connection, parallel life connection with that area and that individual.
Yeah, it could be. It was somehow it was my like safest field in my like childhood, because I felt there really like safety. By the time I was playing in the garden, and there was this statue. He was not moving, but he was there just watching me, just watching.
Oh, that's really cool.
We were not communicating, but he was watching.
Oh, I'm sure maybe like telepathically. I'm sure he still is around and communicating with you.
Yeah, I hope so. I will love to reconnect.
Yeah.
I hope I'm soon. As soon it will happen. Yeah.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, the veils are definitely thinning.
Yeah. So Gigi, as you're working also with clients, like when you are working with them, like how, like when they are asking some questions, or they want to know something or have some problems, like do you get the images, or do you see it or feel it, or do you hear it, or how does it work when you are like working with your clients?
Yeah. So basically, the process for me is that right before a client, about 3 minutes, I'll usually sense some energy come in the room, and it'll usually be, I can usually tell if it's like male or female. I can usually tell a core quality, some core archetypes that exist within its soul about what it's working on. And then I know that the client that I'm working with is going to be somehow affected by this energy. And that's probably their guide. I'm not sure. I guess that would be their guide. I never thought about it. It's just all so natural. And then so once I connect with them, usually I'll start getting clear knowings. So it's like I already know this person. I just think that our consciousness merges. I don't know, I actually don't know how that happens, but I just get very clear knowings about their life. And the more that the clear knowings come first, like things that have happened or just a lot of the time large patterns. And then after that, I'll start to get visions. For whatever reason, I do get a lot of past life visions. I get a lot of very specific imagery with past lives that have direct things to do with this life. I feel like that's because when we see our lives more symbolically, we can understand them. So I'll get past or parallel images to help individuals almost understand what they're going through many times. And then I'll also get empathic information that allows me to feel how the person feels about what they're going through and what I'm saying. And that allows me to maybe back off a little bit with telling them things or really speed up. And some people can handle, some people we can go through so much information and we can do so much work together in a half an hour. And then some people it's very gentle and it's, you know, and that's where the empathic ability comes in. So that's pretty much, and varying degrees of that basically. That's pretty much my day.
May I ask, Gigi, who are your clients mainly? Like, are problems, are they dealing with the heal issues, like health issues, or more like emotional issues?
Or relationships, or money, or...
Yeah. I am not a medical intuitive. There are individuals who are medical intuitives, which mean that they are specifically many times trained or have this very special gift to view inside the physical body, see the intuitive bodies merge, and they can give very precise answers about physical health and advice on that. So I always tell people that's not my specialty. Intuitives have different specialties. I would say that my specialty is probably life purpose. I do a lot with relationships, but many of my clients are actually other intuitives that are looking to just develop their skills, or they're people who are looking for more life purpose stuff. I would say that that's probably what I attract for whatever reason. But I can speak on anything. I can see what comes through, but that's usually what I get.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, and I'll just get back to your guides. Do they, let's say, does it happen that they sometimes start the conversation with you, or you only get answers? When you ask, they give answers, or they actively involve, I don't want to say involve, but engage in communication or contact with you?
It totally depends. Some people's, I really deal with the person. There's someone that comes, I don't know what it is, that there's someone's guide comes in the room with me. There's someone's energy component comes in the room with me before our session. And if someone doesn't show up, I know that they're not going to show up because something can come in the room and it's empty. So sometimes they're really pushy, and it's like I can't talk fast enough. I can't talk loud enough. I feel like I'm like yelling. And they're very pushy about what's being said. That it's like I can't even get it out. And then sometimes it's very subtle, and I have to almost shift my energy. Like I'm constantly shifting to hear it. And that may just be my personal resonance not being like able to hear that as well, or something like that. But or it could just be that that person's guide or that person's energy, that person needs it in a softer way. So it really depends on the person, and I guess what they need and what their soul is.
And what would you what would you recommend to people when they would like to get in touch with their guides? Like, are there any, let's say, general steps that people could try out?
Yeah, absolutely. The first step is probably a few deep knowings and understandings. Your guides are always talking to you. They're always there. They're always around. They want to connect with you. That's the first thing to know very deeply, because sometimes we literally think that here we are, we have guides, but they're off like playing ping pong somewhere, or they're not around. Like we don't, it's kind of like, so we want to know that they're absolutely there. They're constantly trying to communicate, and in many degrees they are you at the same time. So communication is very easy. The first thing that I would do would be set an intention. So state out loud, say out loud, bring as much consciousness as you can, and say, I would like to develop a strong relationship with my guides. I want to connect. And say that as strongly and in as much conviction as you can, because energy will follow that conviction with the same intensity. And energy will follow your intention. So that's the first thing I would say. Sounds so simple, but game changer. And the next thing that I would do is I would hold space for that connection. So I would, every single day, I would reaffirm that, and then I would hold space and say, I'm ready to hear. And then once you say that, any impression that you get, it doesn't matter how trivial you think it is or how unrelated you think it is, you write that down or you dictate it into your phone. So you honor, once you set that intention and you're in that space, you honor every emotion that you feel and every image that you get. Don't think that it's your mind shutting down. Like when in that meditation, honor whatever impressions that you get and assume that that impression is a message from your guide. Because right now, our biggest mistake in reconnecting with our soul or our guides is that we actually assume the opposite. We actually assume that the messages that they're giving us is our mind or that it's not real. And that's the first hump to get over. So assume that that's a message, because a lot of the times our guides will communicate with us in their language or in our own internal language. They'll communicate with you by making you feel an emotion. They'll communicate with you by bringing up something you did yesterday. They'll communicate with you by showing you an image that seems unrelated to anything you even care about. But the point is that you have to then focus in on that image and unravel it, because that's just the beginning point. And by unraveling it, I mean acknowledge it. Say, I acknowledge that this emotion's coming forward. And then see if it will unravel. And wherever you put your focus should expand. Expansion's law. And wherever you put your awarenesses should unravel to you. So know that just by focusing on it, you'll know more. And the more that you surrender and you let go and you pull that mind back, the faster things will happen and the more obvious it will be. That's probably the best. And to do it consistently. Consistency is credibility, and consistency allows you to build. So you have to you can't quit after, a couple days. And also know that intuition isn't an accessory. You can't become more intuitive and connect with your guides and expect for your life to stay the same. You're now going to be able to be seeing into different realities. You might begin seeing energy around people that you care about that you don't like. So know that your intuition isn't something that you just add on to your life like, now I'm intuitive. No, your life will change. And that's actually why people stop themselves from their intuition development, is they think that, oh, I'm just going to be able to like see ghosts when I want or get information. No, you start to see other worlds overlaid on top of this one. You start seeing the truth of the world. You start seeing the truth of yourself. You start seeing things. And that's why people don't develop their intuition or they stop, is because they don't realize the self-growth involved in it.
Yes, I mean,
Awesome.
it must change someone, or when he gets in touch with his intuition, because like as you said, his world will just change, and he has to like rewrite everything. Let's say he knows and how he looks at the world.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I have a question. Gigi, I wanted to ask you, if you will have a power or ability to change something on the planet, what would it be?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Or what you would like to influence, or what would be, what is the issue or I don't know how to call it exactly, but if you could change something, what would it be? What you think that it should be improved or changed? If there
I
anything.
would, yeah, but probably a bunch of different things. I would try to bring everybody back to here in as many ways as possible. I would love to probably start with kids when they're young and they have less things in their life, and really start with getting them on the right track. And I would, God, you know, I would love to take all of the pharmaceutical commercials off of television and all of the fear off of the television, straighten up the media, because I got cable recently and I hadn't had it for a long time, and I was like, I'm gonna get cable. And I can't even watch it because of all the fear-based programming that's keeping people like, I mean, it's like a pharmaceutical commercial every single minute, and it's all this scary news. And I would probably just have like Gaia TV on all the time, or conscious programming that were around in the background, because I don't think we realize how much like the media and all of that really affects us.
Yes, exactly. I'm following also a few like the biggest entrepreneurs like in the world, and most of them like they just don't watch TV. Like one of them, like Peter Diamandis, is saying like he called like CNN like crisis news network or constant negative news, and that was pretty funny.
It's terrible. It is, and it's like, I love the Ayurvedic understanding of reality, where our food is our food. Like, we think food is what we're eating, but our food is everything. Our food is what we're watching on television. It's what we're reading. It's who we're talking to. It's who we're around. It's everything. Our food is everything that we're consuming. And you wouldn't eat rotten slop. You wouldn't eat that every day, but yet we consume it. We eat it consciously every day. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
And we wonder why we have health concerns and why we're all addicted to all these weird things. And it's like, well, we're surrounded by it.
Yeah, he also asked me the question like, why are like the negative news so dominant? I mean, why do people watch like so many negative news, and why it's like more catchy, more interesting? Why do actually, yeah, they do follow it? And he said that the basic like in a short way, that the explanation for this is in our evolution and history. Like people when they, I don't know how many thousands years ago, like they have to pay really big attention to like whatever animal could eat them or kill them, and pay attention to that. And as in these regards, like when the brain didn't evolve that much, and we still, most of our brain or part of the brain is the same, that is the reason like why we are we really are like wired to pay more attention to the negative news, even though like we can do something about it, but this is the natural state, like how our brain is like evolved or is functioning.
Yeah, it's that primitive mind. It's that override. It's a pattern that we have to override. I think we've also become really normalized by it slowly. It's kind of like the boiling frog analysis. It's disturbing, but I think it's something that we have to override. It's interesting that we just talked about ancestral patterns, because that's exactly what he's talking about. He's talking about ancestral things that it's like it's a monster now. It's grown. We can't even control it. And I think that now, I think it has reached a fever pitch. And I do see, I see that the media, I don't think the media can turn around. I think it has to turn around on itself, because I think it's becoming very, very obvious to a lot of people what's going on. And I do feel like it's going to lose a lot of momentum, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, so what are what are your passions? Like, what's the thing you would like to do, or what you are doing, or you can spend any amount of time on? So yeah, tell us something about this.
This is my passion. I'm doing it right now.
That's
Literally,
He
I
can
love
feel
talking
it.
to people. Yeah, I love this work. I love this work. This is my passion. I'm definitely doing it. On the side note, I also love, I actually like to make things. I'm kind of crafty. I also like that. That's like the hidden world of Gigi. Like I like to make things. And then I also like, I love yoga. I'm really into yoga. What would be other passions? I'm pretty consumed by grounding my work right now. I'm like really into making these different channels of self-expression. My main passion, I'm definitely doing it, which is intuitive work, speaking about intuition, and just basically this, definitely my main one.
And you also put out your first meditation, we've seen.
I did, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I actually was
this is
a
perfect. Yes.
this is what I just wanted to ask, that what are you working on right now, or in the near future? What can we expect?
Yeah, okay, working on a lot. Sometimes I wake up pretty overwhelmed. But so I have an online site, an online site, as those sites aren't online. But anyway, I have a site that is called Cosmic Collective, and it's cosmiccollective.co. And what it is an opportunity for people to share their stories, exactly like your story of how you're a little girl, you're playing in your garden, and you see an Egyptian prince in front of you. It's those kind of stories. It's the kind of stories that we keep secret because we think that we're crazy or we're told that we shouldn't believe. I believe that these stories are key to awakening who we are. I believe that we have the same stories. I believe that we have the same processes, and I believe that we need to start validating our visions and experiences just like you had. And the more that we can do it as a collective, there will be a 100th monkey effect, where we start directly connecting with our heart and our soul, remembering who we are, remembering parallel lives, past lives, and hence unlocking our true selves. And so that's one of the things I'm working on, which is just a place to share and read stories so you don't feel like you're a big weirdo, you don't feel like you're alone. And then maybe you also might see something that you've experienced the exact same thing and feel validated. So that's Cosmic Collective. And there's also going to be meditations on there. So if you haven't had an experience, you can have an experience. So I'm going to throw out meditations like every month, and hopefully that will unlock something. And I'm also working on an intuition development course that will be released in a few months as well, talking about everything we just talked about. And then I'm also working on a book in relationship to that, and just other things. I'm constantly doing things. And then a YouTube, and I have a blog.
Yeah, lots of, okay.
All the things.
But we had still one question. I remember you and we were talking about it yesterday. It was your question about the significance. Yeah,
Yes,
it was a very
yes,
good question.
yes.
Like it.
I totally forgot about it. Yes, is the question regarding significance, and that is because there are basically let's say, two aspects of significance. Let's say I'll give an example. Like, people sometimes they are struggling for significance, and they want to find the significance in, let's say, in the class or in the family or in the world stage, and they need the attention, the significance, and if this is caused by the not enough love, let's say, in the childhood. So if someone, let's say, heals this aspect, if this need for significance would go away. So that's the one part of the question, because like I do know examples that significance, the let's say the need to be significant, like can also have like positive outcomes when someone builds like a huge project or a company or whatever. Yeah, there is a good idea behind it. It gives value, but his purpose, or like why he's done it, because he wanted to feel significant. So there are effects of the significance or the need to be significant. So what would be like your take on this?
Yeah, I think that that's a journey that everybody can relate to. I mean, I'm not sure anybody pops out of the womb knowing their life purpose and knowing that they matter. So I definitely feel like that's relatable. And I think it's almost like the hero's journey. I don't know if you've heard of the hero's journey, which is, you can see it in the tarot. You can see it in Joseph Campbell's mythology. I think that's I think that's actually our life purpose. I think that we're meant to connect with ourselves and our significance here, our purpose. Our significance and our purpose, I feel like, are directly connected. We get our feeling of significance from feeling what makes us joyful and what makes us passionate. When we sense our passion, what makes us just get up out of bed in the morning and click our heels, that's our purpose and our significance. They're kind of interwoven. And once you can connect with that and you know what your purpose is, you actually become a powerhouse. And that's why people become so successful, is because they've connected with their purpose, or they're dedicated to finding their significance or purpose, and they just pursue it. So that's how I would see that, because once you feel significant, I think that you're feeling your purpose. And then once you have that, you're like a column of energy, and you have so much more energy to do things. So when you are in your purpose, you can work 15 hours a day and you get energy and you're going to create something awesome. But if you're not in your purpose, then you're probably not going to do anything significant. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, so I think there's a connection there. Because significance isn't about the world recognizing you or attention or fame at all. If we think that it is, we'll be so sad. Significance is your own inner acknowledgement of who you are, and that's what it is, your own significance for yourself.
Okay, thank you. So, Julie?
We had one last question from the audience, from our friends, that was related to polyamory or polygamy. What is?
Okay,
yes, shortly, because it was the question from the Czech audience, or no, from our friends, and the question was related to. It's a new topic that in the future the polygamy would be something very like it will be like normal, that we should actually, that it's not natural to live like two people together, but more natural will be to live in community but also share the partners. What is your?
I think that's polyamory.
That's polygamy, okay, polyamory. Yeah, I think both are means the same.
Totally. Yeah, definitely. I have heard this a lot. My take on this is every single person is different. Not every person likes peach cobbler. Not every person likes mustard on their hot dog. Every human being actually has a different way that they want to love. And every single way is significant. For example, monogamy is a really, really intense personal journey. If you're in a monogamous relationship, you cannot hide. If you're in a seriously monogamous relationship, there's no way you're going to hide from anything or anyone, because that person's going to be that mirror that is reflecting everything to you. There's great value in monogamy. The problem with our society is that we're forcing everyone into monogamy. And what that causes is a huge rebellion. And I think that by saying that the world eventually will be all polyamorous, I don't think that would be correct, because I don't think everybody at their core is polyamorous. I think that there are people that enjoy different ways of loving. I think that's an overcorrection of where we are right now, which is a lot of forcing of monogamy down people's throat. I think that as we move forward in society, and how I vision it, is people will begin to just loosen and do what they please. There may be a rise in polyamory, but I do not foresee polyamory as being the most spiritual way of being. I know people say that, but I feel like it is an individual choice, and there are different spiritual value in each relationship. Relationships are there to help us understand ourselves depending on where we are in our soul journey. There are lifetimes where polyamory serves you. It serves you, it heals you. There are lifetimes when having a more monogamous cycle heals you. And they're both valuable. They're both tools for our life here, and we cannot force people into one or the other. And so that would be my take on that. And everybody's job is to just figure out what kind of love they like, what inspires them, and what feeds them, what nurtures them, and to follow that. And please, oh my God, if you want to be tortured in a crappy situation, try and force yourself to be polyamorous when you're really more into monogamy. If you want to be in a crap situation, and mentally and emotionally, go into that situation, and vice versa. So that would probably be my.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I know we've discussed this before in our interview in great length. But would there be any any general suggestion that you would give to people so they can use this to live a better lives in, let's say, in general?
Yeah. I would say trust yourself. I would say listen to yourself and trust yourself. Everything is in here, and it always will be. Anything, any process, any other external thing is only trying to lead you here. So just go here, and everything will be so much easier. Get to know the language of your heart and follow it. It'll turn into a path, and follow it. And that's what I would say. It's very simple. Doesn't mean it's easy, but just so simple, and definitely not original. But that's probably what I would. That's what I would say. That is what I said.
Yeah, I mean, it is. This is what I said before, that we, like, while during asking you the question, that for example, like, how to tune into your heart and work with our hearts and ask the questions to probably all of our fears, struggles, and yes, it may not be the most original answer or step-by-step process, but it's definitely, as far as I know, the most natural, intuitive, or the most in spot.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and it's ancient. It's ancient. This is what people have been saying over and over and over and over again. And it's kind of like your mother's advice, or someone that it's like, it's right, but you don't want to listen to it because you want to make things complicated. You confuse control with spirituality. You confuse the relaxation sometimes that can come with control and understanding with being genuine spiritual connection. And so it's so simple, but it's just the most effective. I have not in my life come across anything that's more accurate than your own intuition, and just coming there through that simple process, or more healing.
Yeah. So yes, as I maybe what people may be interested in, as I read, like, I think it was yesterday, I read it again. I do knew this information, but I didn't put that much significance in it. When the like the embryo or the human embryo is developing, like basically the heart is the very first organ.
Oh, I
And
didn't know that.
yeah, everything comes from that. So that is maybe another reason why people just could turn into their hearts.
Oh, that's beautiful. You know, I did not know that. Thank you so much for, isn't that just, aren't the signs just everywhere? And like, if the physical world, like the developing of an embryo, as you so beautifully shared, is any mirror of anything as the spiritual world, wouldn't that mean that if we are going through emotional struggle or spiritual struggle, that we begin where God began, which is in the heart? Isn't that beautiful how it's like everywhere?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
we started there, then we can start there too. That's the first go there.
Yeah. So yeah, we've covered all the questions and topics we wanted
For today, we hope to
yes,
talk to you
for today. Much for your time and the opportunity to interview you. It's been a pleasure. Yes, hope to talk to you sometime again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye bye.